Well, I mean, for this particular year, you've got both teams looking for something to propel them past where they are right now. For Alabama, it's a chance to get into the college football playoff, which they missed out on last year. If they lose this game, they're not getting in, not with 3 losses. I know you've talked about that plenty. For Auburn, it's a chance to make a bowl, which, we all have different goals, and some goals are more modest than others. But also for Auburn, it's a chance to wreck Alabama's season. And that is probably the most driving factor here, is just sheer unadulterated vengeance trying to take out Alabama's could be promising year.
Sheer unadulterated vengeance at all times. Like War Eagle and Roll Tide are like, dirty words in Tuscaloosa and Auburn, respectively. But, you mentioned how Auburn's just trying to make a bowl. They just fired their coach. Alabama has legitimate national title expectations. For people who might not know the history of the on-the-field rivalry, why does this game matter? Like, why is a team that has won 5 games actually going to be a great matchup for a team like Alabama that has a path to the CFP?
Yeah, that's a great question. And people are looking at the line here. They're saying Alabama by 5.5. It's like, are you kidding? If they were playing any other team, if they were playing Mississippi State, if they're playing Kentucky, whoever it might be, that's not Auburn, the line would be 10 more points than that at the very least. But this game lives in Alabama fans' hands. They don't want to tell you this. They don't want to admit this. Alabama fans dread this game. They get no pleasure out of it whatsoever. If they win, they were supposed to win. If they lose, it ruins their entire season. There is no upside for Alabama in almost every year, and this year's just another example of that.
Jay, I'm going to ask you a deep and meaningful conversation question.
Excellent.
Okay.
My favorite.
Right. So as I've talked to radio stations across the country over the last year, one of the things that I've heard repeatedly from Ohio State fans is we didn't beat Michigan last year, and which I laugh at because you won a national championship. And I've said repeatedly, you raised banners for natties. Who cares if you won the game or you didn't win the game? And I get a lot of clapback from that. Why in the modern college football playoff system, the way everything's built now, why do rivalries still matter so much?
Because you see the rival face to face. It's a different thing if Alabama plays Georgia, or let's say a broader scale. If Alabama plays Ohio State or Clemson or Michigan, they don't run into alumni from those schools nearly as often as they run into people from Auburn. You run into these people from the other school at the grocery store. You run into them at work. You run into them at the golf course. You might even be married to one. There's a whole lot of mixed marriages in Alabama. So it has that extra personal component to it because it runs for 365 days. And if you lose this game, you are waiting 364 days suffering through your rival holding it over your head. So this is not just a matter of standings and who has the rings. This is a matter of every single minute of every single day having that loss held over your head. And that's why it's so important.
Which is so funny because I hear Fitz saying that, well, hey, Ohio State won a national championship, but didn't beat Michigan. And I think, yeah, that's true. Valid. Very, very fair. With that, win over a rival can bear so much more weight than just any other win. So for Auburn, if Auburn is able to do the unthinkable and the Jordan-Hare voodoo starts doing its thing and starts working its magic, do you think that there is a possibility that DJ Durkin, their interim head coach, gets the head job?
Probably not. I think that Auburn is looking to make a whole fresh start all the way through. I think they want to bring in somebody outside of the program, DJ Durkin, outside of the existing program. DJ Durkin, has a few clouds in his background, and they dealt with that with Hugh Freeze, and it didn't go so well. So I think that the plan is to bring in somebody that is perhaps connected to the program in the past, but embodies what they're looking to get out of the program going forward. Kind of embody the Auburn mindset, and with all due respect to DJ Durkin and what he's doing and what he would do if he wins this game, I think that they're looking to start fresh. It would certainly be a nice little resume booster there to say that you're 1-0 in the Iron Bowl and that you gave Kalen DeBoer his first defeat and that you sent Alabama running back to Tuscaloosa from the plains. But I'm thinking that even that would not be enough.
So then let's look at the – go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, I would love your perspective on how did we get here with Auburn? It was just over a decade ago. They won a national championship. Like they were always in the conversation for, getting to the SEC championship. They were always, in the conversation for a New Year's Six bowl. Now they're just hoping to get to a bowl game. How did we end up here?
All right. I'm going to ask kind of a rhetorical question because I don't know either of your backgrounds, but if you have siblings and you've ever gotten into a fight with your sibling, at some point you get so enraged with that fight with a sibling. This usually happens to the younger brother facing the older brother, but it can be any combination of siblings you want. At some point, you get so infuriated and so hopped up that you start making mistakes, and your older sibling just whomps on you and just takes you out. And that's what's happened with Auburn this last decade. Okay, they have gone and they've tried so hard to keep up with Alabama that they're in one of these periodic lulls where they have made dumb mistakes. They've made bad coaching hires. They've been made investments in the wrong directions. They have not been able to recapture the essential Auburnness that they had during their best years, whether it was back during the Cam Newton era and the kick six era, or whether it was in decades prior. They just overextended themselves, and they need to kind of get back within what makes Auburn special and then build off of that. That's one explanation. The other explanation is somebody made some kind of deal with the devil and said, we want to win the greatest college football game of all time, and we'll take another 15 years of losing to do that.
I'm just going to say, Busby, I had a perfect racket as a little brother. I had one of those Tonka trucks, right? Like back when they made metal Tonka trucks, Carolina, right? So like,
oh my God.
Tonka truck, and I would run into the room. My brother's 5 years older than I was. I would run into the room and I'd hit him over the head with the Tonka truck. And then I would run to my mom and tell my mom that he hit me. So then she'd bust his butt and like he'd get double. He got hit with the Tonka truck and then spanked over and over again. It was a perfect racket until one day my mom saw in the mirror that I was hitting him with the Tonka truck. Oh man, hell to pay on both sides. I feel that I had my kick six and then
you were the kick six. You were laying out the kick six and then finally you got caught and it's been trouble ever since, I'm sure.
You never forget the whooping that comes after the whooping. I'm just saying. All right. So let's talk about Ty Simpson here. What's Ty have to do to really cement his legacy as a great Alabama quarterback?
Not turn the ball over. I mean, he's turned the ball over a lot, and that's what's disturbing Alabama fans a lot with the interceptions. You know, granted, like against Eastern Illinois last weekend, he had a dumb one that was just kind of a heave at the end into the end zone, but then he had another one that was kind of hit a clear defender. You know, who was a wide open defender that kind of confused people there in Tuscaloosa. He's got to not turn the ball over. He's got to be the kind of quarterback to engineer drives that keep Auburn on its heels and basically make certain that there is no chance for Auburn to be close in this game, because what the worst thing that can happen for Alabama is for this to be a one possession game going into the fourth quarter. And that's the kind of thing. That's when the Jordan-Hare Stadium is going to be going crazy. That's when all of the ghosts and the voodoo start welling up. And that's when the trouble is going to come for Alabama. And so it's up to Ty Simpson to make sure that he moves Alabama down the field. He's been able to do that. He's been able to find his receivers. He's been able to spread the field in a way that few Alabama quarterbacks have been able to do lately. And so if he's able to do that, Alabama will be just fine. I have a feeling that Auburn's not going to go away that easily.
They always seem to stick around. So with that, and you just mentioned a couple of great examples of great Iron Bowl moments. The kick six, Auburn's going to win the football game. We had 4th and Milroe just a couple of years ago. What would the kind of outcome be that could be this weekend that would make you say, I got to make an iron in the blood too? Like I need to add another chapter to this book.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to add another chapter because Alabama has already, Auburn, you know, they fired their head coach. They added a couple of national championships since I published this book. So it's already a little bit outdated. So it's a little problematic there. But there's going to have to be something, and it's going to a moment that flips entirely, that takes the momentum is going in one direction, all of a sudden it flips in the other direction. That's what happened with both of those examples that you mentioned, the kick six and then Gravedigger, where it was a 4th and 31 and Jalen Milroe gets a touchdown on that play. So I could very easily see something like that happening. Like I say, I don't think that Alabama is going to run away with this game. I think this one could come down to the final seconds again. And if that happens, then yes, I've got a little bit more work to do.
How on edge should Kalen DeBoer be in general, considering he's done a really good job in some ways, and in some ways it feels like Bama fans are just ready to run him out of the city entirely?
He should be very on edge. I mean, you know, he's going to try to say the old, we're taking it 24 hours at a time, one game at a time, or one game season, all the usual coaching cliches. But if you can't beat Auburn and if you can't get into the playoff on a larger scale, yeah, Alabama's not going to be happy. Another 9-win season is not going to cut it in Tuscaloosa. I'm not saying that he's gone or anything like that, but he managed to, after Florida State, we all remember that the fires were burning. He's cooled those all down with 9 wins this season, 8 in a row. But yeah, it could well right back up again, especially if he loses in a way to Auburn that ends up humiliating Alabama.
And some people might say, well, another 9-win season. I'd sign up for that. I mean, hey, that sounds pretty great, but I think that's just a testament to the expectation in Tuscaloosa. In your opinion, what is it more? Is it more of Kalen DeBoer needs to do more at Alabama, that Kalen DeBoer has fallen short at Alabama, or is just this modern era of college football, does it make like the dynasties of Nick Saban no longer possible?
Yeah, it's very much the latter. I mean, Kalen DeBoer's done a great job. He's put together a team that can compete with any team in the country, and also a team that has some flaws, just like pretty much every other team this side of Ohio State. I mean, every single other team that we look at has some flaws, and whether they've lost the games or not, A&M and Indiana, they still have those kinds of flaws there. And that's what we're going to see going forward, because it's going to be impossible to build a Nick Saban-esque dynasty going forward because of the way that the NIL and the transfer portal work. It's just going to be too tough to convince players to stay for 2 years sitting on the bench with the expectation that they'll be playing for a national championship in their 3rd and 4th. That's the way that Saban would do it, and that's just not going to work now. So, yeah, this Alabama fans don't want to hear this, but Alabama is just another good school right now, a very, very, very good school, but just another school at the moment, and they're going to have to reconcile themselves to that and understand that championships are not going to come by the armload any longer.
Yeah, that's like being Superman and waking up one day and realizing you no longer have superpowers. Now you just have pretty good powers. Like now you can open a jar of peanut butter when it's stuck, but you can't fly anymore. I don't know. It feels like that's hard. All right. Give me a final score prediction, Busby.
I'm going to go with Alabama 28, Auburn 24. It's going to be close, but Alabama's going to hold on.